What's going on, guys? It's your boy Jerome Jones, and we are back for the RPO College Football Podcast. I'm here with my man Ray Roberts. How you doing today, Ray?
I'm good, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. We are here on a special night, as you guys can tell. We had to cancel for Wednesday, but we're on for Friday, so I hope you guys are welcome and ready to talk some football on a nice Friday night. We got a couple of games currently playing right now, but let's get right into it. Ray, you ready?
Whenever you are, buddy.
Let's go. All right. First thing we're going to talk about in this one, because we got some incredible news. So we're going to go straight into our news category right now, is the big news about the Big Ten. The Big Ten has moved around some rules right now to allow Ohio State to play in the championship game. I want to know, Ray, how you feel about this? Was this the right decision? Is it kind of unfair because now they don't have they didn't meet the quote unquote right amount of games initially, but they bypassed it. It's Ohio State kind of thing. What do you feel about this, Ray?
I don't know if, of course, there's going to be some teams that are not going to be happy about it, but I think that it's the right thing to do as far as, I mean, we all know that Ohio State is a talented roster,
Yeah,
and they're one of the top, half a dozen teams in college football. And honestly, being a Notre Dame fan and being involved with the college football playoffs this year, hopefully, um, they should be as long as they do okay against Clemson. I don't really want there to be anybody who's because if Ohio State wasn't involved, the people that are Ohio State fans and Big Ten fans would have said, "Well, the only reason somebody else won besides Ohio State is because they weren't in the tournament." So I don't know if it was fair, but it was probably the right thing to do.
yeah, I totally agree, Ray. I'm on the fence about this. As you know, I'm a Michigan fan, so that doesn't play too well into my thinking on this. But I think it was. I don't know if it was fair. I think it was fair, but I think I'm like on the fence with it because on one hand, obviously we all know Ohio State is the team. They should be there. They're talented enough. They was gonna beat Michigan. It's gonna beat I forgot the other team they got canceled with. So obviously just being as humans, I think it was just like all right, dude, like Ohio State should be in there no matter what. Um, but at the same time, I'm like torn because if that was any other team, would the Big Ten would have gave somebody that pass? And I don't think so. So like in that aspect, I think it wasn't fair in a sense because the Big Ten was adamant about that rule until they realized, oh wait, our big ticket's not in. Maybe we should reconsider this. If it was any other team, if it was Indiana who was coming off of a really good streak and they had to cancel a couple of games because of COVID, would that been the same, scenario? That's my point of it. That's the only thing I'm like about with that. What do you think, Ray?
I agree with you. I just think that again, if Ohio State wasn't involved, I just don't think it would have been good for college football. I mean,
Correct.
there's going to be like teams like BYU and maybe a couple other teams that probably think, well, maybe we would have had a shot at being involved in it. But honestly, them teams wouldn't have beat Ohio State in a real game. So let's not pretend like they would have. We're just talking about what's good for college football, right? Not what's good for certain college football programs. You know what I mean?
That's
Florida is probably going to be the one team that we'll look at it like, well, we should be involved in it. And you know what though? If Florida goes to the SEC championship game and they play well against Alabama, they have a right to think like maybe feel that way a little bit, but no one else really does. So.
yeah. There's a couple of scenarios where I think it was Florida and there's another team I forgot where if they had good games against either Clemson or Florida, that Ohio State would get pushed out of the college football ranks. So we'll see how that goes. So there were some controversies, obviously, surrounding my team in Ohio State. They thought we opted out of the game on purpose and, try to sabotage Ohio State. You think that was any kind of case, or, you think that was, it was a true
I don't
statement?
know if they did it just for that reason. I think that Michigan really wanted to get beat by Ohio State by 30 points? No, I don't think they wanted to get beat by Ohio State by 30 points, but they probably would have. So it was more like, are we really that worried up not playing this game? No, but I don't think they did it with any reason to try to hold back Ohio State. I don't feel that's what they did. I mean,
Yeah,
Ohio State's still going to play again against Northwestern, right? And then they'll
yeah,
play in the Big 10 championship game. And again, if they weren't in the championship round or in the playoff rounds, then the whole every college football fan is being cheated a little bit because we know that Ohio State is one of the top 4 or 5 programs in college football. I mean, let's. I'm not a fan of Ohio State, but I understand they need to be in this tournament. So
yeah. Lord knows I'm not a Ohio State fan, but and being a Michigan fan, I don't think that was sabotage. I don't think we was trying to sabotage them. We had to cancel 2 games in a row, which makes me think, obviously, in my opinion, that we didn't, we wasn't trying to sabotage. Even though Michigan was playing very bad this year, only had 2 wins this year, and won't have another game this year because of that. I think that, in a way, Jim Harbaugh will probably wanted to, redeem himself, kind of thing, at the end of the year, because of that. So I don't think it was sabotage, but I will say this: if it was sabotage, we found out it was, Michigan should all Michigan recruits should opt out, decommit from that school. Like, I would say that because that's just dirty. I don't condone that. I don't care what team it is. You don't do that. That's not what you do. As a organization, as a school, and representing the organization as a school too. So I'll definitely say that I don't condone that at all. So,
no, I
but
just think that, again, I don't think Michigan was in any
no,
real panic about not playing the game. But I mean, I don't think they want to just pack up the tent and be done for the season. So I don't think they did it maliciously. I just
yeah,
think that, say this has been a weird year, man, and there's just another building block for a really weird season. So
no, definitely, yeah. And the fact that the cases are going up too, like, I just think that it's like that. I had to be in quarantine. I was quarantined for a week myself, just for being in close contact. So it just the fact that it's just spreading right now, and hope everybody go out there and stay safe, and don't catch this. And if you do get close contact, please make sure that you're doing what you need to do to stay quarantined and stay away from each other, so it don't spread even more. But it's definitely. I think it's just spreading, and especially with somewhere where there's so many people in one spot as it is, as far as like college football, and they don't have the same resources as the NFL, where they can tone it down like the NFL does, and really monitor it. So I just think it's one of those cases. We have a lot of games that got opted out um, this week and last week that got canceled for COVID. So I don't think it's sabotage on Michigan's part at all. And I'm
I
not
mean,
just saying that, Michigan.
yeah,
Good.
I'm just speaking from my own point of view. I think that for Thanksgiving Day, I usually have between 15 or so people for Thanksgiving, but this year I had 5
Mm-hmm.
because we were just trying to make sure we were trying to be careful. But I don't think it's a coincidence that you see a spike like this 2 weeks after Thanksgiving. I think that people got together a little bit too much, and now we're seeing the results of it.
Oh
So
yeah,
again, let's tell people to be careful and not kill our governors for trying to be safe.
yeah,
Please.
I agree with that. Definitely agree with that. But let's get on to the rest of our program right here. So we're gonna talk about the review of week 14. And Red, we're gonna get right into the first game. The first game we got is Louisiana versus Appalachian State. What do you think about that game, right?
Well, I was it's 2 pretty good programs in that conference. Say Appalachian State's usually the cream of the crop, and the fact that Louisiana won't beat them for the first time in I think 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was good for them. I think it was a not a great game, a solid game. I mean, nobody's stats flash off the board. I mean, it was just a good, solid, competitive game. So I think it was good.
Definitely. Um, yeah, I was very surprised with this game and looking at the stats on it. It was a really close game. It was a really good game that most people probably wouldn't think of as a good game initially going into it. But looking at some of the players that entered, Zach Thomas was just a very talented quarterback. Man, he was 10 for 21 with only 92 yards and 2 picks. It was a rough game for him. Running game was good and everything like that, but man, the turnovers and like we always say, Ray, turnovers predict the game. So it was just it was just crazy to see a stat line like that.
Yeah, I mean, like that's usually what happens, though. Usually, Appalachian State's usually one of the better teams in this conference, and again, they hadn't lost to Louisiana for quite a while. And I just think that like Zach Thomas struggling, especially in the first half, threw 2 picks, and it just kind of steamrolled on them, and they never got back in the game. Just as they were actually being down by like 3 scores at one point, and they made it
Yeah.
competitive at the end. But again, it happens, man. Sometimes when you struggle early, you don't come back from it. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was a definitely rare performance for Zach Thomas, who is one of the more known quarterbacks in that conference. So, um, it was yeah. So again, I wasn't expecting the kind of stat from him, but you struggle sometimes. It happens. It happens. So, let's move on to our next game. We got Texas Tech versus Kansas. Kansas, I'm sorry, Texas Tech won 16-13, a very defensive game. The Kansas Blue Jays are 0-9, haven't won a game this year, which is very surprising to me. Texas Tech played down to their level. Bowman had a okay game, not a lot of yards. Had a pick, no touchdowns. Ray, what do you think about that game?
I think that Xavier White had a great game, and I think really he was the difference in the game. 14 carries, 135 yards, average almost 10 yards a carry. I mean, he also had 2 receptions for 28 yards. I think Miles Price had a solid game. The wide receiver had a nice reversal. They ran in for a touchdown. I mean, they did just enough to win the game. So
Yeah, I agree. I just think that like you said, Xavier White was literally the game. It was
well,
tough defense on both sides. I thought it was just crazy how um, Texas Tech could not get it going. I always liked Texas Tech defense. If you guys have been watching this for a while, I've been high on Texas Tech to kind of let me down a couple of games. I thought that was going to be good. Quarterback play, some injuries, things like that, kind of handled them this season. But Kansas not winning the game at all was kind of surprising to me this year. Was close in this game, had a decent defense, except they couldn't stop Xavier White. But it's just surprising that a program like this cannot get it going. It just tells you what kind of year this is.
yeah, I mean, usually you expect more out of Kansas offensively, but just again, both defenses play pretty well, and again, you didn't really see anybody stand out in this game except for Xavier White, basically. So
Definitely, yeah, it was definitely again. This is definitely a weird year for all this. So yeah, let's go to our next game. We're gonna go to Texas versus K State. Ray, again, another team that I had high hopes for with K State. They got blown out by Texas, 69-31. Me and you've been on this thing about Texas where they're so up and down and inconsistent. They played really well in this game. Came out the gates looking really well. Will Howard the freshman quarterback for Kansas State. Unfortunate for him, it's his first year. He kind of struggling at some points after coming off really hot when he first came in. But since then, he kind of tailed off. They have Kansas State really relies on their running backs, specifically Deuce Vaughn, which had a really good game. Only 10 carries though, but 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. But Texas really ran over them. Ray, what do you think about this one?
Well, running over them is literally exactly what happened. They basically ran for 334 yards as a team. I mean, Rashawn Johnson had 139 yards, 3 touchdowns on only 14 carries.
Let's talk about him. The rookie running back coming in and playing like that. It was insane. Like they got two running backs that had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, Bijan Robinson had 172 yards on 9 carries. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, they ran for 334 yards. Usually when you think of K-State, you think offense, and that's usually what they are. They're a good offensive team, and they are, but their defense wasn't anywhere on the field today. So,
Yeah, and their defense been playing very well this year, actually, and they cannot stop the run this game.
Sam Ehlinger for Texas had a nice game. And the crazy thing about him is he didn't even really get involved in the running game, which he usually does. But in this game, they didn't need him to. So, and offensively, 20 of 27, 274 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. So that was probably one of his more efficient games. So
I think this was his most efficient game this year. Yeah. Clicking on all cylinders. It does help when the running game is clicking too, because you don't have to worry about the defense pinning their ears back and coming after you after the pass. If you're running the game, your running game is the way it was, averaging what it was. I don't know what the exact averages for each running back, but if you have 3 running backs that got touchdowns, 7 of your touchdowns, you're playing really well.
John Robinson averaged 9.9 yards a carry. So he almost averaged a first down every time he touched the ball. And Bijan Robinson averaged 19 yards a carry.
Yeah.
So when you're running the ball that efficiently, there's really no reason to hardly put the ball in the air except for when the defense backs out and just gives you everything you want. So, it just, again, if you like defense, which I tend to, and I know you do, this was probably not a good game for us to watch. So,
Yeah, if you like explosive, high-scoring games, this is the game for you. Unfortunately, Kansas State couldn't keep up. I do think Kansas State, got some players on their team, but yeah, they just couldn't. They can't win without Skylar Thompson, man. Without him, they haven't been as efficient.
I mean, how many times do you see a team pass for 274 yards and run for 334 yards?
Very rare.
Never happens in today's football, but it happened in this game. So, again, we're used to Deuce Vaughn doing this thing, and he did. But when you're ahead by the amount of points they were, it doesn't really give you a good feeling for your running back can't be that involved in the game. So,
exactly. Totally agree. All right, let's get to our next game. Another blowout loss, another very surprising loss. We got Iowa State beating West Virginia 42-6, right? Your boy Prudy, man, he looked good. We talked about him last week, how each week he looked like he's getting better and better and better. This is another game that you look at him and you're like, all right, this the Prudy that we was looking for at the beginning of the season that we wasn't getting, and now he's warming up, he's getting better, he's looking more efficient. Ray, what can you say about this game?
Well, again, he had probably one of his better games this year, going 20-23 for 247 yards. Actually ran the ball for 38 yards on 7 carries. Had a rushing touchdown too, 3 passing touchdowns. I mean, again, Iowa's a good team. Mm-hmm. And I was a little surprised by West Virginia because usually I think their defense is pretty good. but they just didn't play well in this game. So
exactly, and that's a reason why I want to point out this game, because usually, like you said, usually West Virginia is their defense is very stout. They cannot stop Iowa State at all this game. They totaled 483 yards total. Rushed real balanced game, rushing, passing. Um, um, Bryson Hall had 97 yards for a touchdown. Average wasn't that great, but he moved the rock. And like you said, Prudy had a really efficient game.
yeah, again, Iowa State's a good team. I was just a little surprised that West Virginia's defense let them get away from them too much. So
Yeah, a very surprising thing. I believe you had them winning that game, right? West Virginia.
you know what, Jerome? I can go back and check my paperwork. I don't know that for sure.
Yeah,
No, I had West Virginia.
you did.
I mean, I had Iowa State.
Yeah, I think both of us did, but I think we were both thinking it was going to be a really good game. And
Well, I thought it was going to be a good game. I mean, Iowa State was favored by 7, so I would never go against them to lose the game.
Yeah.
I just thought West Virginia's defense would probably keep them in a little bit better than that, and I was surprised they didn't. So
Definitely. All right, let's get to go ahead.
I always go by, like, I know people, like some people tell me that's boring, but unless I see a line where a team is like within 2.5 points, I usually will go with the team that's way favored. So
For sure. Yeah.
At least
No, Ray with his lines, he loves his lines. Let's get to our next game. TCU versus Oklahoma State. TCU beating Oklahoma State. I was not ready for that. TCU had a decent game. Kept the ball. That rushing yards. Duggan was killing them on the ground. There wasn't much offense from Oklahoma State. What do you think about that game, right?
Now that game, I did have Oklahoma State winning the game, which it didn't happen. But I think we talked the week before about Oklahoma State after beating Oklahoma the week before, maybe they would be due for a little bit of a letdown, and that's apparently what happened. So
Yeah. I wasn't expecting the game to be the way it was. Like I said, Oklahoma State offense was like very meh. I mean, Jackson had 118 yards for a touchdown, but they're I think he's a sophomore. Their quarterback Sanders
under 50%.
Sanders, yeah.
Yeah, he struggled in the game.
Yeah, and I think we were No, I think we were talking about that too. It's just that with him, like he had a lot of upside, but he wasn't there yet. You could tell he wasn't all the way there yet as a quarterback. He's definitely athletic enough to get himself out of situations, but him as a passer was kind of up in the air. He had a couple of games where you're looking at it like, oh wow, this guy got potential, but I think this game he didn't really show it.
No, I mean he does have potential. He's more of an athlete than a quarterback.
Correct.
But he has potential, and to hold him under 50% on his completion percentage kind of surprised me. And like you said, Desmond Jackson had a decent game, 118 yards, but he only averaged like right at 4 yards a carry, so he was nothing special. So
definitely. All right, our next game is gonna be Indiana versus West Virginia. I'm sorry, Wisconsin. Indiana won 14-6. Keep in mind that Indiana did not have their starting quarterback, but their backup played really well. Tuttle had was 13 out of 22, 130 yards, not a lot of yardage, but 2 touchdowns. Didn't turn the ball over. Wisconsin, they couldn't do much. I mean, this is a very low scoring game, 14-6, right? What do you think about this one?
Very defensive game. Like both defenses played very well.
Yeah.
Indiana's defense played really well in the second half.
Correct.
pretty much never really let anybody get into the game. I mean, Graham Mertz, the quarterback for Wisconsin, was 20 of 34 for 200 yards, but he
Mm-hmm.
threw a pick, and it was a big pick because they almost returned it for a touchdown. So it just wasn't. It wasn't what you expected from Indiana but they were playing a backup quarterback and
Mm-hmm.
probably tried to minimize, Wisconsin again. But Wisconsin's a defensive team anyway, and they're not really a super high power offense to begin with. But
Yeah.
Indiana just played good. I mean, they're let's face it, Indiana's a good team. I think we were surprised early on by how well they were playing, but let's face it, they're a well coached team and they're a good team.
I agree. I think they're a really good team. I do question it. Because Indiana was the team out of Big Ten that you wanted to kind of see succeed without, Penn State doing good, Michigan doing well. There was that one team that you're like, all right, well, we have at least another team that can look okay against, Iowa State. And obviously they lost to Iowa State, but I just thought like they would be one of those teams, and then they lost their quarterback, Penix, Jr., Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah,
So, and I believe he's out for the season, if I'm not mistaken.
I think
But
he's out for the rest of the season. Yeah.
yeah, so it's very unfortunate. Penn, I feel like the Big Ten just cursed this year, man. I mean, even Ohio State just got cursed with not being able to play those games, and luckily, like we said earlier, the Big Ten uh, changed their decision on how the playoffs is gonna go. But like, man, what's going on with the Big Ten this year, man? It's just a lot.
They have really struggled. I mean, even like in conference. I mean, most of the games have been in conference and no consistency. I mean,
Hmm.
Indiana has probably been like one of the more consistent teams.
Exactly.
Northwestern, again, has played good, solid football, but besides for them, really, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then obviously Ohio State, and then even then they got canceled. They got a couple of games that got canceled. So it's just like, I feel like Big Ten just got kind of punished for not playing on time.
Yeah. You know what, Jerome? I mean, I didn't want them when they announced that they were going to play the season. I was like, we talked about, we were excited, we were happy
Yeah,
because we didn't want them to shut the season down. But you know what? The way things turned out,
probably could have. Yeah,
they
not even.
probably should have just shut everything down. I mean, again, I didn't want them to because I want Ohio State in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I don't. I want them in the playoffs. I know they're one of the most talented teams in college football. To not have them in the playoffs, I mean, there would have been like it would have been an absence. I mean, honestly, in the playoff round without them. So I'm glad they got everything together and they're going to get them involved in the playoffs because in the end, no one wants a playoff. I mean, no matter if you're Notre Dame or you're Clemson or you're Alabama, you don't want it to be where you don't play one of the best teams in college football. And Ohio State is that. So, I mean, again, they got it together. It happened. And in hindsight, probably maybe they should have just left it shut down. You know what? Honestly, they
mhm.
probably, as much as we would have missed college football this year, they probably should have just shut down the season in total. So,
I
and that,
agree. I agree because there's so
I
much
mean,
with like these kids, and you gotta be careful when it comes to like kids,
and
especially when
I'm a
you're not.
Notre Dame fan, and this is what I mean. Like Notre Dame's had a good year, and they're
Yeah,
going to the playoffs, and I have hope. I know people are going to tell me I'm crazy. I have hope that they'll do well in the playoffs and they'll make it to the championship game. But again, if they would have told me, we're going to shut everything down this year, as much as I would have missed it, I wouldn't have been surprised.
yeah,
And honestly, with all the other stuff that's going on with COVID and how, like you said, how the inconsistency in like in the Big Ten and some other programs too. I mean, it probably wouldn't have hurt everything to just shut everything down. So.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I agree with Ray. This season been really rough, especially on the Big Ten. I'm glad that Ohio State will represent the Big Ten this year, and Yeah, I just think it's just a crazy year. And
Yeah.
speaking of that, let's talk about some crazy games. We got the Chandeliers, Coastal Carolina versus BYU. I think this was the game of the week. It was very entertaining game. Our guys at Coastal Carolina, shout out to all of our guys that we got to interview this season with them. Wins 22-17 to BYU. This game, Ray, I think both of us picked BYU in this game. Unfortunately, we had our reasons. But yeah, it was a very close game. The Chandeliers won 22-17 on a last minute play. Ray, what do you think about this game?
Again, I think the Coastal Carolina has showed everybody that they are one of the top teams in college football this year, and there's no doubt about it now. And Zach Wilson kind of struggled in this game a little bit, and I mean, I wasn't surprised that Coastal Carolina played well. I think that BYU was surprised by how well they played, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think so too. They wasn't ready for
Yeah.
Coastal Carolina. No. I think that this game didn't play out in the way I thought it would. The reason why is that I thought it would have been a little bit more scoring, to be honest,
Yeah.
especially from BYU. BYU was averaging like 40 points a game. Like they were scoring out well, which is part of the reason why I chose them to win the game. But man, Coastal Carolina's defense is underrated. They got some balls over there.
They
Um,
do.
shout out to Charon Jackson. He had a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
They got some ballers on that team, man, and people are sleeping on them. Yeah, so there was actually a controversial play in that game, right? I don't know if you've seen it, but Zach Taylor threw. I'm sorry, Zach Wilson threw a pick, and after the pick, there was some a little bit of I wouldn't say roughing of Zach Taylor, but hey, if he throws a pick, he's an eligible player to get blocked, and it was blocking him to the ground, and people were kind of upset about that play. Ray, you want to touch up on that if you've seen it?
No, I agree with you. I think that it was a borderline roughing the passer call, but like you said, it's after an interception. And honestly, man, see, I'm too old to ask this question, Jerome. I think a quarterback should be treated like every other player on the field, but we all know that's not how they're treated. So,
Yeah, I was always taught to play through the whistle, and the whistle was not blowing yet, and they was doing what they needed to do to get him on the ground. I don't think it was. I think it was a little bit overblown. I think it didn't look as malicious as it looked. They pinned him to the ground basically. I don't think they hit him extra hard or anything like that. They pinned him to the ground and kept him on the ground, and that's what you taught when you're taught to block. So
if it would have been any other player except the quarterback, no one would have said nothing about it.
correct. Yeah, and it was it's their hot ticket player. Zach Wilson obviously going to be in a draft. He's going to be one of the top players in there. So I understand the concern for it, but I don't think it was a bad play, Ray. I don't think it was malicious. I don't think they was trying to do anything malicious. They were just playing through the whistle, playing football, and doing what they had to do. That's just my opinion.
I agree with you 100%. And I think that Zach Wilson probably, even though he'll get taken in the top 10 this year, probably,
Yeah,
he probably showed that he needs a lot more work and probably shouldn't get taken until like maybe the second half of the first round, to be honest with you, as far as I'm concerned.
definitely. I agree. All right, let's get to our last game. This game was very exciting, Ray. This was the Stanford versus Washington game. Ray, every time. So, as you guys know, I was on a Stanford train last year. One of the teams that I was like, all right, I think this is going to be the game Stanford wins. Don't win. I think, all right, Stanford's going to win this one. Don't win. It was very bad last year. This year, it's like every time I go against them, they win. So
Yeah.
they beat they beat Washington 31-26. I got to see some of this game. I didn't see the full game. But Ray, what do you think about this one?
I think it was a good game. I mean, I like David Mills, the quarterback for Stanford. I
Mhm.
think he has a lot of potential. He has some upside at the next level. I think he's a good college quarterback. I think Austin Jones had a nice game. He only averaged 4.5 yards a carry, but he had 140 yards,
Mhm.
2 touchdowns. Nathaniel P had a nice game, rushing for over 6 yards a carry, had a touchdown. I think it was like a back and forth type of game. I think, like you said, honestly, it was probably the best game of the weekend as
Yeah,
far as, a competitive back and forth type of a game. So,
I agree. And Jones, excuse me, Austin Jones, like you said, he wasn't spectacular. He was their best player on offense that game. But the one thing I did like about him is that when they needed him, he came to play. Like he came up. So when they needed a first down on third down, when he was getting the ball, he was getting it, and that was the clutchness of him in this game. And I thought that was the difference.
yeah, I think he had a nice game. I think that David Mills did a nice job of spreading the ball around. He only threw for 252 yards, but he had a touchdown, and he hit 9 different receivers in the game. So hit a nice efficient game for
Mm,
David for him. I mean, he's a guy. Actually, I think in the 2022 draft, you'll probably talk about like a first round pick then. So
definitely, definitely. Yeah, so I agree, right? That was a really good game. One of the other probably game of the week. I thought it was very tight and very surprising game. Like I said, reason why I wasn't really into watching it because I wasn't sure if Stanford was going to be playing again, and I actually missed a very good game. So,
yeah,
uh, so yeah, so let's talk about next week now. So let's get into our week 15 previews. We're gonna talk about the games on here. So there are a lot of games that got canceled this week. I think there was about like 5 to 8 good games that got canceled this week. So
yeah.
we are gonna be very careful with these because I know, yeah, we got Washington, Washington and Oregon got canceled. Indiana and Purdue got canceled. Texas and Kansas got canceled. Oklahoma and West Virginia got canceled. Ohio State and Michigan got canceled. So and I'm just naming a few of them. There's a lot of other games that got canceled this weekend. So, which is crazy because this is rivalry weekend, where you get a lot of your rivalry games that goes on in this week. So, very unfortunate, but let's work right through this, Ray. So let's get into our first rivalry game. We're gonna go into Arizona State versus Arizona. Who you got, Ray?
I got Arizona State. I mean, they're favored by almost 2 touchdowns. So I mean, again, I know it's boring to go by the line,
Yeah.
but the line tells me that Arizona State will win the game, if nothing else. So
Yeah, they're actually currently playing right now. So if you're not watching us, they are currently playing on ESPN right now. Arizona State is actually winning by 2 touchdowns. But yeah, I agree. Arizona State is the better team. I think they will continue out and win right now. Always been a Herm Edwards guy. I always support that guy, and I
Mhm.
think he was going to be a good coach. Right now, it's not a lot of passing yards out of Ohio State right now. JT Daniels only is 2 for 2 for 15 yards. So it's
Yeah.
still only it's the end of it's 3 minutes into the first quarter. So obviously there's going to be more passing and things like that. So check us out next week, make sure to see how that game turns out and what we think about that game as well. Anything else you want to add to that, Wilmer?
No, just that I think Arizona State is just a better program right now, and I am a Herm Edwards supporter also. I mean, I'm a fan of his coaching ability and of him as a person. So I root for him. So.
Definitely, definitely. All right, let's get to our next game. This line is very, very close. It's very surprising. We got number 21 Colorado, a 1 point favor at home against Utah, which is only 1-2 in the season. I thought this line was kind of weird, Ray. What do you think?
I'm a little surprised that the Lions can start out as 3. But and it makes me very leery. But I'm still going to go with Colorado to win the game. So
Yeah, you got a 4-0 team against a 1-2 team. Utah doesn't look right from last year. You got a team that's ranked against a team that's not ranked. Utah always liked their team, but I think Colorado is going to win this again. I think that line is a little too low, with
yeah,
everything considered as well.
I
Uh,
agree. I think the Colorado will win the game.
definitely.
People are still think Utah is as good as they were last year, but they're just not. So
Yeah, I think that's probably what it is. It's just everybody kind of like on that hope from last year, and they don't have a big sample size. They only played 3 games right now, so maybe that's
yeah.
kind of what it is. But thought that line was really, really weird when I seen it. So let's get into our next game. This next game actually we don't have on our list, but I just kind of seen it on the corner of my eye. We got Wake Forest versus Louisville. Louisville is only favored by 2 at home versus Wake Forest. Ray, who you got in that one?
I'm going to take Wake Forest in the game. I think they're a little bit of a better team right now. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I know Louisville's defense is pretty good, but I'll take Wake Forest to win the game. I think it's going to be a really close game, though.
Yeah, yeah. Louisville been another roller coaster team. Their offense can click and then it doesn't click. They're 3-7 right now. Their offense is like so inconsistent. They have these spurts of like really good offense of play, and then the next thing you like, what the heck happened? So, and we've been talking about Louisville all year. I think I'm gonna go Wake Forest, and I'm gonna push on the line. I think they'll cover.
Yeah. I think it is going to be a close game because Louisville kind of plays a lot of close games this year. So
Yeah, definitely, definitely. All right, let's get to our next game. We got Rutgers versus Maryland. Another rivalry game. Maryland is favored by 6.5. Right, who you got?
I would love to take Rutgers in this game, but I got to go with the line. It tells me to take Maryland, so I'll take Maryland.
Sorry, Juan, if you're watching. I'm going with Maryland as well. I think that Tua, I'm not Tua's, Tua's little brother.
Yeah.
Don't know how to say his name, but Tagovailoa, whatever. Tags. I think he's a good quarterback, and I think he kind of showed what he got, and I think that he's gonna be the difference in this game.
I'll take Maryland because they're favored to win the game. Tagovailoa is not as good as his brother, but he's a good solid quarterback. So
I agree. All right, next rivalry game. We got Nebraska versus Minnesota. Nebraska is actually favored 10.5 at this point. The game is a little bit closer than the beginning of this week, but Nebraska's up now. So who you got, Ray?
I would take Nebraska to win the game. I would not take him to cover that 10.5 points, but I'll take him to win the game.
I think I'm gonna go with Minnesota. I feel like they're improving a little bit. I think Tanner Morgan's starting to play a little bit better than he was in the beginning of the season, and I just think they got better coaching right now. So although they've been struggling, but both programs been struggling. So I'm just gonna give it to Minnesota in this one.
All right.
All right.
I mean, I'm a PJ Fleck fan too,
Correct.
but Minnesota's just been too inconsistent for me to bet on them. So
Definitely. All right, let's get to this next game. Army versus Navy. This is always the rivalry of the year, especially for us in this area because they play at the link each year for us Philadelphia and area people. Ray, you're a fan of this game each year. Who do you think is going to win this one?
I'm going to take Army. I think it's a down year for Navy after losing their quarterback last year. I think that Army's favored by anywhere between 5.5 to 7 points, depending on what
There's
line.
7.5 right now. That's what I got.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think Army's a better team, and I think they'll win the game. So
I agree with Ray. Everything that he said. I just think that Navy, although they're not passing school, but losing their quarterback last year to the NFL really made a difference because he was a playmaker on that team, and since losing him, they kind of struggle. So I'm gonna agree with Ray. All right, let's get to our next game. We have Miami versus UNC. UNC been losing a couple of games lately. Dropped in the ranks. They're only 17 now. Miami, Florida is ranked number 10. They're 8-1. Favored by 3. Ray, who you got at home, by the way?
And I don't want to do this, but I'm going to take Miami to win the game. I think UNC's defense is struggled all year, and I think Miami will do enough on defense to beat them in this game. Again, I'd rather root for Mac Brown's UNC, but I don't think the goal. I think Miami's defense is good enough to maintain NC's offense, and so I'll take Miami to win the game. I think it's gonna be a good game, though. I do.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with UNC, and the reason why I'm gonna do that is that I think UNC been going through a identity crisis. I think they've just been, they don't know if they want to be a running team. They don't know if they want to pass it all the time with Sam Howell. I believe in this game they're going to run the game, run the ball, and I believe if they run the ball and run it efficiently with their 2 running backs that are really good, I think they're going to take the ball out of Miami's hands, and as much as possible, I think they're going to squeeze out this win. I think that, like you said, I think there's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. I would say around maybe 30, I'm going to say 35, 30, something like that. A close game like that. Yeah, but I just think that, I think UNC is going to finally be like, all right, we're going to run it. We're going to run it in this game, keep the ball out of Miami's hands a little bit. With De'Aaron King and the offense.
I think that's the one thing that I'm surprised with North Carolina. I mean, I know they love Sam Howell, and I think Sam Howell is a good quarterback. But with their running backs as good as they are, I think that would be my game plan most weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not put our defense on the field any more than we have to. Let's keep the ball away from the other teams. But with Sam Howell, he's a good quarterback. Yeah. So they want to score, but sometimes you just can't outscore everybody, So keep them away from other teams.
Yeah, like I said, they offensively. I feel like they've been through identity crisis where they don't know which one they rather lean on. Which is not a bad problem, but I just think that I think this week they'll definitely lean on the run a lot more. All right, let's go to our next game. We got Iowa versus Wisconsin. Iowa's only fair. I'm sorry, Wisconsin is favored by 2. Iowa is not favored. Iowa is actually ranked number 16 right now. Right, who you got in that one?
This is a really confusing game to me because Iowa was favored in the beginning of the week, and now the line is completely swung the other way. Yeah, but I still think Iowa's a better team, and I think they'll win the game.
Definitely. I'm trying to see if there's some kind of injury or something that happened, or
I don't know that if there is. So I'm just going to again say that I think Iowa is just a little bit of a better team, and I think they'll win the game. So
I agree, Ray. I don't know where that swing came from because I believe, like you said, I believe that I don't see anything saying anything about injury on here. I just think it's weird that swung like that out of nowhere. But hey, yeah, I'm gonna go with you, Ray. I'm gonna go with Iowa. I think they're a better team, and I think they'll win this game. Interesting. All right, let's get to our next. Our next game is going to be Cal versus Washington State. Cal's only favored by 1.5. They're away. So, who you got in that one, Ray?
It's Cal or Oregon.
I got Cal on Washington State.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I'm thinking Oregon, Washington. Okay. I have Washington State winning that game pretty easily, actually.
Really? Ooh, wow. Okay. Yeah. 2 teams that have been struggling so far this year. This one, man, I think this line is right where it should be because I can't. It was hard for me to choose this one. I'm gonna give the slightest edge to Cal. Very slight. I just think they got a better coaching staff. and I think Washington State just been, not there this year. It just been off. I'm gonna give it to Cal, by the very very slightest though, very very slightest. All right, let's get to our next game. It will be I think Oregon versus Washington got postponed, if I believe. So let's go to another rivalry game. We got Virginia versus Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is favored by 3 points. Who you got, Ray?
I'm not crazy about this game at all because I like Virginia's defense,
Yeah,
but I'm going to take Virginia. I am. I like their defense better, so I'll take them.
I'm going for Virginia Tech. I think their offense is good enough. It is going to be a close game. Like you said, Virginia got good defense, but I think it's going to be a close game. I like Virginia. I'm just going by my heart on this one.
I mean, I think it'll be. I do think it's going to be a really close game, but I think Virginia Tech has just lost so many guys on defense,
Yeah, sure.
to win this game. So, and I'll go with the team that I think is a little better defensively.
Okay.
I'll probably be wrong, but I'm okay.
Hey, we all can't be right all the time, right? Can't be
Correct.
All right. We got USC, who is ranked number 15. They are favored by 3.5 against UCLA. UCLA been a slightly surprising team this year. They're 3-2, but playing a lot better than a lot of people thought. They was god awful last year, to be honest. Ray, who you got in this one?
I'll take USC and Keaton Slovic.
Yeah,
I'm not a Chip Kelly believer, it's funny, like when I was growing up, I would always root for UCLA over USC, but I'm a Slovic fan. I think the kid's a good quarterback, so I'll take USC.
I agree. Yeah, I think Slovic had a down game last week, if I'm not mistaken.
It's funny, he's not been as good this year as he was last year. I think that what happened was last year teams weren't sure that he was going to play.
Yeah.
And I think he caught some teams by surprise, but I still believe in him and his talent. I think it's going to be a pretty good game, but I'll take USC.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with USC as well. I need them to start off a little bit faster, and that even goes with Slovic because been struggling early in the games and then kicks it off late in the games and been having these really close games. So I don't disagree why this game is so close in the picks, but yeah, I think USA is gonna win. I just think they need to start off a lot faster than they have been.
They need to do a better job protecting their quarterbacks. Is what they need to do. So
I agree with that too. All right, next game we got Stanford versus Oregon State. Stanford is favored by 3 points. Right, who you got?
yeah, there's another one. Oregon State was actually favored early in the week, but I'm going to take Stanford. I am a David Mills believer. I think the kid's progressively every week has gotten a little bit better.
Yeah.
I think Stanford will win the game.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I've been burnt by Stanford all last year. I'm still nervous about picking them this year. I'm gonna go Oregon simply off of that. Simply off of that. So I'm gonna go Oregon State in this game. I think they not the greatest year, but I think they're a solid team, and I think they'll win this one. And I think that's it. Wait, yeah, I'm trying to look for that. I can see.
They're not canceled, right?
I don't think so, but I don't see them for some reason. Where are they?
Well, I don't have anything telling me they've been canceled. So as long as they're playing, I'm going with Auburn. So
really,
yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Mississippi State, right? Yeah, I don't see the game for some reason, but besides that, if they are playing, yeah, just because of Bo Nix, man, he's been so inconsistent this year, and I think that Mississippi State been playing a lot better than a lot of people thought they would. Like they had a couple of really bad games earlier. But I think they're coming along, new system and everything like that. I think they, getting used to it, and I think they're gonna upset Auburn this game.
You know
So
they're Auburn's favored by 7, right?
Auburn's favored by 7.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
That. It's gonna be a close game, I think, too. This is rivalry week, though, Ray. So you never know what's gonna happen this week.
No, you don't. And it should be a decent game. I think that Auburn will do a little bit of a better job running the ball, including Bo Nix, just enough to keep Mississippi State's offense off the field. So we'll see.
We'll definitely see. We'll definitely see. But that will do it for us today, guys. Unfortunately, we had a lot of games that got canceled, but this is rivalry week, and we'll enjoy some of these rivalry games. We won't have the Ohio State and Michigan games that everybody seems to love to see them whoop on us. But thank you guys for checking us out. Please make sure you check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. We can find all our player interviews. A lot of these players that we interview are on there, so please make sure you check that out. Also, check out our YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe on there to find all our new videos and new things that we have coming up very soon on there. Also, check us out on InsideTheHatches.com and all our social media accounts. Inside the Hatches on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So I'm Jerome Jones. This is Ray Roberts. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you check us out again on Wednesday. We'll be back on the regular schedule on Wednesday next week. So make sure you check us out on there where we'll see how the results came in and start to get ready for the playoffs. So or championship weekend. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week and have a good one.